G'day, and welcome to another episode of the Cricketers Network. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, which, quite a few of you are watching this rather than listening to it, and good on you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Please subscribe and all that stuff. But if you're not, then you won't see that I'm broadcasting from my house. This is my office. I know it looks a little man cavey, but I don't like that term. So let's just call it the only room in my house that's mine. And the stuff on my wall behind me, not very crickety, but so I bought actually along today a cricketing artifact that I have. It's a county cricket bat, and it is signed by everyone who played the 1995 Eden Park Centenary Test. There we go. 100 years of New Zealand cricket. Some great names on there. Martin Crowe, for example. Ken Rutherford. Stephen Fleming. A young Stephen Fleming, I would say. Deepak Patel, Brian Young. Gavin Larson playing a test match. How about that? And we played South Africa. So South African names on here. Gary Kirsten, Hansi Cronje, Alan Donald, and a bunch of people I can't make out. So just so you know, that was our big centenary test, and we lost that game. However, what we can move on to is something far more positive, because as we go to recording this today, I'm recording this on Friday, the 19th of December, and New Zealand just completed day one, a record-breaking day one against the West Indies, the third test at Bay Oval, Mount Maunganui, and basically the openers batted through the entire day. Captain Tom Latham, went out just before the end of play, and they brought out the night watchman, Jacob Duffy, to protect the rest of the order, which is amazing considering we were 300 and lots for one at that point. Devon Conway unbeaten overnight and just banging down the door of another double century. And it's great to see Devon Conway back in form. Now, today on the show, we've got two awesome interviews that I did by Zoom, both just, basically catching people in between things, because they're both very busy, very sought after people in both in very different ways. So we have the great Amelia Kerr, who gave us an interview from her car. She was literally in between a nets training for the Wellington Blaze, and she was off to a gym session. And I mean, she was honest with me. She'd double booked herself. But she was very nice to give us a good 20-minute interview there. It's been a big week for her. She was in the IPL I think it's called, or WPL, the Indian Premier League for women, and she did very well in that auction. Sorry, she wasn't actually in it hasn't happened yet, but she was in the auction there, and did well, because she had two teams fighting over her, which is what you want in an auction, right? And so yes, we chat to her about all things cricket. She's just come back from the Big Bash, where her Sydney Sixers side did pretty well. They got knocked out by Sophie Devine's Perth Scorchers in the Challenger final, but Amelia had a particularly good game that game, and Sophie did not. So, and then the Hobart Hurricanes went out to win that whole competition. So, anyway, it was kind of cool to talk to her about what it's like to play her teammate, her White Ferns teammate, and whether she gets in her ear. She's not really that kind of player, but Sophie is. And so, yeah, we chatted a little bit about that, a little bit about NZ20 and the possibility of that. And yeah, there's been lots of rumblings about that once again, throughout the week. It's not, I'll be honest, the kind of political side of cricket isn't something that necessarily excites me. Apparently, there's been some boardroom shufflings. I don't know, 100% understand it. Mostly, I'm just a lover of the game, as you can probably tell by my incredibly nerdy artifact that I brought along today. So, We are about to go on a little break from the Cricketers Network. We'll take a 2 week break over Christmas. We'll be back the week of the 6th of Jan, whatever that is. Probably we'll be put out an episode later that week. So yeah, look out for that. That's coming in just a couple of weeks' time. So without further ado, I think we're gonna rock into our first interview, Amelia Kerr. I didn't say who the second interview was. Let's say who that is as well. After that, we're going to talk to Andy Zaltzman, who we talked to just before the start of the Ashes. He is the chief statistician, statistics man, stat man. He's stat man. I've given him a superhero title for the Test match special for the BBC, and we're going to talk to him at basically the halfway point of the Ashes. And we caught him just before he was going to the Adelaide Oval for the day. But we'll play that interview after this one, which is me chatting to Amelia Kerr. Okay, here she is. She's booming. She's beaming in from her car, it looks like, because she's in between training and gym, because that's just the kind of person she is. She's played over 170 games for her country, including the highest ever individual score in women's one-day international cricket, one of the premier all-rounders in world cricket, and she's from Tawa. Welcome to the Cricketers Network, Amelia Kerr.
Lovely intro. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you for fitting us in between literally Blaze training and gym time.
Yeah. Straight back into it. Got back from Aussie, like 2 days ago. So yeah, had yesterday off, and then back into it now. Getting ready for I'll get to play the start of Super Smash.
Oh, nice. Okay. So the Big Bash, you were in the Sixers side. You got beaten by the Scorchers in the what's that called? The preliminary final, was it? Challenger final?
Yeah.
Up against Sophie in that one. You had a great game yourself, but just couldn't quite get over the line for the Sixers, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, someone has to lose, and unfortunately it was us, but yeah, I thought we had a great side and definitely were capable of winning the whole thing. But that's cricket, and you got to turn up each game, and it's a fickle game. So we didn't play our best, and Perth played pretty well. Beth Mooney was outstanding all season for Perth, and yeah, we weren't quite good enough. And Hobart ended up winning it. And if you look at the tournament, they were probably the team to beat.
Now, you have played so much cricket with Sophie, and is it weird to come up against her in the Big Bash, and particularly a big game like that?
Yeah, I guess more so in big games, but I think now for a long time I've played against her in all franchise comps, in the 100, WPL, and Big Bash. So, um, yeah, it's not always fun bowling to her, especially at small grounds, which they often play at in franchise leagues. But yeah, she had a great tournament, I think, as well. I didn't actually watch too much of the other games, but yeah, obviously she's led Perth for a while and does a great job at it. So, but yeah, it's always nice when you get one up on your teammate, and she got the one up.
Now, look, I don't think you're much of a sledger, but I know that Sophie's not short of a word. Was there a few words in your ear when you were out there?
Nah, there wasn't. She was respectful. Yeah, she was surprisingly respectful.
Okay, that's nice, I guess. Yeah, it must be so weird. Well, talking to Kyle Mills on the show last week, and he was right there right at the start of franchise cricket, and having to play against his longtime teammates, and almost give up like secrets, of how to get them out to your team, just must feel slightly disloyal.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is when you do your scouting meetings as a team, and then they say Sophie Devine, and everyone kind of looks at you for some information. But at the end of the day, I think now with the amount of footage where you're playing all around the world, people generally know, and you still have to execute. But yeah, it's something I try not to, I guess, be too. I try not to talk about my teammates too much, and I think it's probably something more for the Australians where they've got about 10 of their players playing in comps all around the world, whereas unfortunately at the moment it's just Sophie. But would love it if, we can see more of our players playing in these franchise comps, because I think in New Zealand we have some serious talent, and just being a small nation and playing less cricket, sometimes we don't get looked at as much. But yeah, there's a lot of quality, and I'd love to see more of us playing in these comps.
Yeah, of course. I was going to save this for later, but let's talk about it. There's been a lot of chat about having our own franchise comp in New Zealand. Of course, we do have the Super Smash, but there's a lot of feeling that needs to be revamped and have some money pumped into it and just kind of revitalize. What are your thoughts on that? Have you been keeping up with all that chat?
I haven't read too much about it, but in terms of what I have looked into, I love the idea. I think having a franchise comp in New Zealand would be amazing. I think for overseas players, it's a real draw card. Everyone loves playing in New Zealand. It's a great place to come and visit. But I think more importantly for our cricket, if you look at, the sides that are winning a lot of world events, or the most successful sides, it's, you know, India, Australia, and England, and they've all got franchise comps where their domestic players and international players are exposed to really competitive cricket, but they all have internationals coming in and adding value and increasing the standard of each comp. So I think for New Zealand, it's such a great initiative to try get more players coming to New Zealand to play and have this really competitive brand of cricket. I think, otherwise it's going to be hard to keep up with other nations, and we've got to find a way with, I guess, the resources we have here in New Zealand to keep pushing and developing our game to, I guess, keep up with the big nations like India, Australia, who have so much, I guess, money and support around them.
Yeah. And I guess with the women's game, it's the timing's even better because they're talking about having it in January, and the women's big bash that you've just competed in, that's kind of earlier. So it's not even going up against that. So for the women's game, it might even be ideal, right?
Yeah, if it's just trying to get the right people over. Like this year, the WPL is in January, which then
Right.
might affect the the NZ20 next year. But in saying that, you still see so many good players that miss out on the WPL that could play in the NZ20. So it'd be nice if you could find a time of year where it fits in with everyone, but that's going to be hard to do because there's so much cricket. Um, but yeah, I think no matter when it is, it's only going to help New Zealand cricket and increase, I guess, the competitiveness of our game.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the WPL. So you've just gone under the hammer, I think is the phrase, in the auction. That went pretty well for you. Can you tell me what you were doing? Were you watching that? Were you watching it by yourself, or do you have a group around you?
Yeah, I was in Adelaide at the time, and my cousin had come over. We were playing, so I went out for dinner with him, and then I knew the auction was on that night, but I didn't know when it was starting, and I dropped him off to where he was staying, and then I was driving back, and as I was driving, my phone was just buzzing. Um, so I from that thought I've missed the auction and I've been picked up because I'm getting my phone's going off. Yeah, and then I saw the messages come through, and the first one was from Nat Sivabrunt, who is at Mumbai as well, and just saying that she's stoked that I'm back there, which I was really hoping to go back to Mumbai because I've loved it there. Um, and then I got on the phone to Nathan, who was at home, and he told me 3 crore, which I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah, I never
And
know what a
yeah,
craw is either, but
no,
I think it's the thing I've googled the most because it never goes into my brain.
no, it's confusing, isn't it? So yeah, I just was pretty like it's hard to describe because yeah, it was a bit ridiculous, really. And then I went up to my room and I was rooming with Pez at the time, so she hadn't watched either, and I told her, and she was stoked. And then my grandma recorded it on her phone and sent it through to me.
That's so good. I always wonder who watches it because weirdly I was flipping around channels and I came across it and it was literally just as your name was, getting bid on. And I was like, who watches this other than the players? Like, I don't even think,
Yeah,
cricket tragics like me watch it generally.
it's. I think has the men's one been, or it's tonight? I think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty soon. Yeah,
Um, but it's like it seems a bit weird that you're betting on people.
it
Like
is.
it's bizarre, really.
Yeah, and it's funny because like if you've ever been to just a regular auction, it's kind of the same. Like no one wants to do that first bid, and it's still the same.
Mm.
With they're still quiet, and it must be hard for the players who are undergoing the process to sit there and go, is no one going to bid on me? Like that must be the longest like minute of your life.
Yeah, and when only if you only got one team bidding for you, then that's you're probably going for your base price. Whereas I was fortunate to have two teams bidding for me, which made the difference. And UP Warriors were the team with a lot of cash, I guess, because they didn't retain people. And Mumbai had spoke to me during the retention process about how they were deciding whether to retain myself or Haley. And then they called me back at the end of the week and said they decided to retain Haley, but that they'd try get me in the auction. So I knew Mumbai were going to try get me, um, but I didn't think that they would get me. I didn't think they'd keep bidding after UP kept going too.
Yeah, I feel like Mumbai is one of those places that they don't like to lose.
No, they don't like to lose, and they are very loyal. Like we've got a pretty similar group to what we've had in the past, and we have won two titles out of the 3 years. So as a group, we've been really successful, and I guess like most businesses, you don't change something that's been working. So it's nice that they've kept that loyalty there, and I guess looked after me in that regard.
Yeah, nice.
Um, but hopefully, I can look after them and put out some performances now.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Look, you've had a really good Big Bash. I wanted to ask you about being a leg spinner in Australia because Australia has that real tradition of leg spinners, possibly more than anywhere else. Shane Warne, Alana King now. Why is it good to be a leggy in Australia?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's good to be a leg spinner at North Sydney Oval on 50-metre boundaries and a
Okay.
flat wicket, but I mean, I guess Shane Warne's kind of created this legacy, I guess, for leg spin bowling. And obviously, if you're an Australian, you probably grew up watching him, and I guess he made spin bowling cool. Um, I mean, it depends on each ground. Like I think Alana King plays at the Wacker, and she gets a lot of bounce there, which in T20 cricket, when batters are going hard at you, it's really effective with getting the extra top spin and bounce. You get people hitting the ball straight up. So it changes on each ground, but I think it's just you see world cricket now. Most teams love having a mystery spinner or a leg spinner in their side. At times you get hit, but you've got the ability to have match-winning performances and pick up key wickets through just bowling a really good ball. You can make things happen out of nothing, which I think is the beauty of leg spin bowling.
Yeah, of course. So you must love bowling at the Wacker when you do go over to Perth, right?
Yeah. I've don't go over there too much. Feels like its own country, but our first game was there, and I actually didn't bowl my best, but when I did get it right, you definitely got the reward. So it's just you play at so many different grounds now. You've got to be pretty quick to adapt and work out what is best on each ground, I guess.
Yeah.
even just boundary sizes, wind, all of that stuff. And yeah, you've just got to accept that sometimes your best ball also is going to get hit, but you bowl more good balls than bad balls, you're probably going to have hopefully more good days.
Yeah, of course. Well, speaking of good days, I know you're very close with your sister Jess, and she just had a fantastic day. 7 for 18 against Canterbury and Rangiora. Were you in touch pretty quick after that?
Yeah, I was. I was actually on the plane home when she was bowling, and I checked the scorecard, and yeah, couldn't quite believe it. Really,
Yeah.
that is a proper impressive day.
I
Um,
don't know if you've seen the wickets, but obviously Jess loves a big hooping in swinger, and she really got it going that day. Can you give us any insights as to how she developed that? Like, is that a backyard thing with like tape on the ball type of thing?
yeah, she got it swinging. She wasn't much of a backyard cricketer growing up. She was a runner, so she was just out on the streets on the pavements. um,
Oh, right.
but and I'd be playing cricket all day. She then got back into cricket, like she played a bit through school and then got properly back into it when she finished school more. Um, but if you look at her action, it's like her arm is like up here, so she's bending it from that angle, and I guess for a lot of people that's quite an unnatural position to be in, and it works from her, and she's been working hard on her bowling. She's done a lot with Shane Jurgensen, the Firebirds coach, and I think for her it's finding ways how she can like get her swing to swing later. And I watched those wickets and it was hooping. Looked like she bowled a little bit closer to the stumps, which means she should get her swing to be a little bit later rather than wide of the crease. And yeah, it was a proper spell actually. I watched the wickets and she had two really good days for Wellington, and the Blaze are going nicely, which is good to see.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's stick with family because I wanted to ask you about Christmas. You know, cricketers generally play the day after Christmas Day. I think you've got a game on the 27th for the Blaze. So, does this get you out of any kind of, cooking or anything? Do you have a legitimate excuse there?
Like normally, I do have the excuse, because I've always like the Christmas has always been at mum and dad's or an auntie or uncle's or whatever. But this year, Nathan and I are hosting Christmas
Uh-huh.
at our place, so we've got all my family, all his family, my mum's side, my dad's side, a couple of mates. So I think I'm gonna have to I might have to help out,
Is Nathan much
which
of a
is
cook?
which is a shame. Yeah, he does majority of the cooking actually.
Okay.
That's
Um,
his job.
oh, good. Yeah, good. Well, he's injured now, so he's got no excuse. He has to
Yeah,
show
I'll
up.
play cricket and he can cook.
How's the Blaze looking for this year, by the way? The mighty Blaze.
Yeah, the Blaze T20 record is nice, isn't it? But yeah, we're a young side, and Lee Casbrick's obviously a massive loss, not playing. So yeah, we're hoping to get a couple of overseas as well, as what which we did last year to help. I guess again, like that NZ20 concept, it's only going to help strengthen your own team and the rest of the comp and the people around you. So we're hoping to do that, and yeah, unfortunately, I'll have to head off to India through Super Smash, so I'm going to miss a bit, which I absolutely love playing for the Blaze, so it's going to be a bit weird watching, but we're in really good hands. Johnny is the head coach, and started last year and has done a great job. So yeah, I think with T20 cricket, any team can win, but the Blaze definitely want to carry on that legacy they have.
Yeah, nice. And will you be back in time for the Ferns games against Zimbabwe and South Africa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I'll be back for the both series, which will be nice.
yeah, awesome. Well, I mean, you've played a lot against South Africa in the last few years, but Zimbabwe, what do you know about them?
Yeah, I know nothing. Kate Abraham.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. Is she going to play for Zimbabwe?
I've heard that she might be. So there you go. There's one player I know.
Yep.
But other than that, it's gonna have to do a fair bit of scouting before that series starts. As you know, you're so used to playing teams that you see all the time, and you get a fair idea of what players do and how you want to play them or how you want to bowl to them. So yeah, gonna have to get some footage together and have a wee look. But it's awesome to see them coming over and getting to play a new side as well. As yeah, new experience, I guess, for us.
Look, thank you so much for your time today, and I'll let you get to the gym. But I've got one final question for you. So everyone, when we do the in-studio shows, we ask all our in-studio guests if they could be any other type of cricketer than they are, what would they be? And recently we had, well, not a professional cricketer, but a lifelong cricketer, Di Henwood. And he said if he could be any type of cricketer in the world, he'd like to bowl leg spin and bat four. And I said, well, that's Amelia Kerr. Now, is that if you could choose any type of cricketer to be, would you choose what you are, or would you, or is it a hard road to hoe?
Ah, I mean, I would love to add other parts to my game from people. I think I'd choose to bowl left arm spin.
Left arm leg spin?
Nah, just
Office.
just Mitch Satner's.
Yeah.
And I would love to bowl quick, but then you've like just got to do bowling loads, you get injured more. So I'm going for longevity of my career. And
Good.
people hate facing left arm spin. So yeah, left arm spin and shit, I'll bat left handed as well.
So
I'll
you've
bet
chosen
left-handed,
exactly
yeah.
you've chosen exactly what Jimmy Neesham chose.
Lovely. But I'm gonna bet like I'm gonna bet like a mix between Beth Mooney,
Yes.
Nat Siver, and Elise Perry. I'm gonna
Okay.
have all of their strengths as one.
It's a lot of power.
So yeah, I should be a good player if I'm doing that. If I bowl like Mitch Satner, bat like those three left-handed, yeah,
Yeah, you've basically just said I want to bat as good as the three best batters in the women's game there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's illegal.
Amelia Kerr, thank you so much for literally fitting us in between appointments of being a professional cricketer. Have a Merry Christmas and best of luck with everything.
You too. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, we thank Amelia Kerr for her time in between busyness. That's the life of a professional sports person, I guess. Right. I'm not going to muck around here. Let's get into it. I've previewed him and he's waiting. Well, he's not waiting. I've already recorded it. But let's just rock into it. Andy Zaltzman is an old friend of mine. He, like me, a comedian who works in cricket these days. He's a chief statistician for the BBC. And it's been a rough old time for England over there so far in the Ashes. But as you can tell from this interview, where there's Stokes, there's hope. So here he is. It's me talking to Andy Zaltzman. Okay, so coming to us from Adelaide, just before he goes to the Adelaide Oval, in fact, is look, I've given you a number of titles, Andy. I think one of them was Chief Stats Guru for the BBC's Andy Zaltzman. Welcome to the Cricketers Network, Andy. We're at the halfway point, basically, of the Ashes. This is a loaded question. I'm doing it on purpose. How's it going?
Oh, I don't want to answer that question. Can I plead the fifth? I know it's an American thing, but I'm going to do that. When you say the halfway point, we've had 7.5 days of cricket. Surely that's too early to be the halfway point. And yeah, in terms of England doing the traditional thing of losing at the earliest possible opportunity, it feels like we're a lot further than halfway. I mean, unless England can pull off a Stokesian miracle in this game, it'll be the 9th time in the last 10 tours of Australia that the Ashes have gone after 3 out of 5 tests. So it's becoming, I don't know, it's beyond tradition it's almost become an addiction for English cricket to lose the Ashes in Australia at the earliest feasible moment.
Now, look, I've been a bit of a defender of well, I don't like using the B word, but the current regime, because it hasn't been successful for so long. So why not do something completely different is my philosophy. So they've done something completely different and it hasn't worked again. Where do they go from here?
That is a good question, and I don't think they'll go back to the sort of the great traditions of English cricket and packing a team with players who bat as if trying to extinguish the entire concepts of hope and beauty from the universe. I don't think we'll go super negative again. I guess that disappoints me. You say it hasn't worked again. It worked really, really well for about 18 months, really up until the end of the 23 Ashes, where they didn't win the series, but they played a really good series. They could have won it. They could have lost it 4-0. They could have won it 5-0. But they basically, they discomforted the Australian bowling attack in a way that no other team has really done. In terms of scoring rates, obviously other teams have beaten them. The Indian sides, in particular, beat them in the series here in 20-21, with a bizarre tactic of having their entire bowling attack completely fall to pieces and picking a load of novices for the final test. Maybe that's the blueprint. That's where England have been going wrong. They needed all their top bowlers to just fall by the wayside injured and then just pick some random people plucked from nowhere to play like India did that time. So I think that that was why there was this optimism coming into the series because of the way they'd attacked Cummins, Hazelwood, and Boland in particular in that series in 23. But now you sort of go back to after that. The next series was the Tour of India. Started with a great win. They were sort of competitive for 3.5 tests and then fell away at the end. Since then they've been a lot less consistent. They had a great win in New Zealand, but they had a loss in Pakistan when conditions got difficult. They completely failed to adapt. And then they failed to win the series against India that they really should have won last summer. So I guess the cumulative scarring of those losses and has maybe sort of weakened their belief in what they were doing. They were so strong in that first year and a half. So it's interesting. You look at the sort of win to loss record of this team since Stokes took over. It's now almost identical to what Joe Root's win-loss record was before he had that run of one win in 17 at the end. And we sort of forget that about Root's captaincy. We just focus on that disastrous last year. But actually, it was almost identical in terms. I think Stokes, Bazball, since it began, is something like 25 wins, 16 losses coming into this game. So maybe that's just the basic state of English cricket in the 21st century. Generally do all right. Some striking successes and a lot of humiliating failures when they come to Australia, with that one exception of Strauss's tour. So it does seem to be just the natural cycle of English cricket. Do well for a bit and then things fall apart. So it's at an interesting phase now, and I don't know. They've tried all out attack in this series that failed badly. Yesterday they tried a much more traditional approach. 6 out of the 8 wickets were to defensive shots, which if the last 2 go to defensive shots, that'll set a Bazball record for 8 wickets to defensive shots over the course of their the current regime. Generally, they've lost a quarter of wickets to defensive shots and almost 2/3 to attacking shots, and the sort of data sort of categorise it as defensive attacking and what they call rotating. So it was a very different approach from England yesterday. Their big problem yesterday was that they were up against a bowling attack that has 4 of the world's current top 10 ranked bowlers. So
that doesn't help, does it? No.
Even on a good batting pitch, that's one hell of a challenge. And I think that that adds to the frustration that when Cummins wasn't there and Lyon only bowled 2 overs in the first 2 tests, that England was so heavily beaten in those games.
I mean, the glaring weakness, it seems, is possibly the top 3. I know it's not just contained to that. This team and this regime are so, strident in their backing of their players. I mean, can you see any changes going forward from here, from that top 3, or do you think they're going to play all 5?
I think there'll be a change unless Pope does something really good in the second innings, or if England pull off a miracle victory. the disappointing thing with Duckett's been pretty good, pretty consistent. He's just had a tough series this time, and actually most of his dismissals in this series have been pretty good bits of bowling. Now you might say, well, a Test opener should be able to deal with good bowling and not get out to it. But so I don't think you can particularly look at him in 22 has been really good. The issue with Crawley and Pope, and one of the frustrations with it is they've both had these moments where you thought, that's their breakthrough moment. We had it with Crawley in that last Ashes series in 23, had that superb century at Old Trafford and batted really consistently. Apart from that, then went to India and had a really good series, again without big scores but a lot of consistency. And then he's just sort of reverted to what he was before, where he just too easy to get out, and every now and again he'll make a useful 60 or generally 70. He's been out in the 70s I think 9 times out of 15 trips to the 70s. He's failed to get to 80, which is
is it 73
staggering
getting out
achievement.
on?
What was it? I think it was his 4th 76 or something in the last test.
Yeah, that's it.
That's not a stat that you want. And Pope similarly played an amazing innings in Hyderabad in the first test in India, 196 in the second innings, and he always had a terrible second innings record. And you thought, well, this is the moment that they've backed him as number 3, done pretty well up till then. Didn't start the Ashes too well in 23 and then got injured, so only played the first 2 tests. And this Hyderabad innings felt like the moment that Ollie Pope sort of established himself, and since then he's not kicked on at all, and his second innings record has been even worse. He's averaged 15 or 16 in second innings and 20-odd tests since then. So I think that's the frustration, that it felt like they'd backed these players, they'd started to have success, and then they failed to improve from that. So it does seem that the selectorial hunches that were so effective in the first of 18 months, 2 years of Stokes and McCullum's reign, and plucking players that didn't really have a particularly good county stats and throwing them in, and they thrived instantly. Even Bashir had 3 5-wicket hauls in his first 5 tests, and Cast did really well, having come in with really no county numbers to suggest that he was going to do well in tests. Had an excellent winter last winter, bowled particularly well in New Zealand, but they've not really kicked on, and those selectorial hunches are now not working in the way that they did initially.
Look, I know you've got to get to the ground, so I won't hold you up too much longer. But we've seen a lot of Brendan in the media, fronting the media. He says he's protecting his players, which is gallant. Do you think, though, potentially he's doing a lot more of the media rather than the captain? Because at one point he snapped at your colleague Jonathan Agnew and said he'd already answered that question. That was a lovely moment that I saw. Is that it? Is it just that Ben Stokes is a little bit of a firebrand?
I don't know with Stokes. I find Stokes really fascinating when he talks to the media. He seems very direct, very, very honest, a bit like Ronnie O'Sullivan, the snooper. You almost feel you just get what's in his mind at the time. And I always think it's a bit harsh to judge players on what they say in the aftermath of a particularly harrowing defeat. So I don't know. I think Stokes is pretty good with the media. Like I say, he's sort of refreshingly direct as sports players go. I don't know quite what he'll say after this. You can almost sense there's a sort of burning frustration in him that what has broadly been a successful, almost sporting experiment to try and play cricket in a way that teams hadn't really done before. Teams have scored fast and been positive, but if you look at sort of teams over 25 match sequences or 30 match sequences or whatever, what the Bazball England have done is way faster in terms of run rate. That's not to say that that's the way to play, but it is, it does show that they've done something different. They've built a whole team to play that way rather than having a few players who do it. But the cracks in that have appeared. I think having had those defeats, maybe the players' faith in it is waning, as happens in sport when those defeats leave scarring and you need to sort of regenerate it and heal it. And I think for English cricket, trying to do that in the middle of a series in Australia generally doesn't work. And like I say, this will be the 9th time out of 10, unless Stokes can pull off a miracle to rival Headingley 2019, the 9th time out of 10 that England have not only come to Australia and lost the Ashes, but lost them quickly and been completely and utterly taken apart.
Yes, well, we're sitting a little smug over here because we just had our openers bat through an entire day against the West Indies, which was just glorious.
Not an entire day. There was a wicket near the end.
Damn it, I wondered if you knew that, but of course you did.
Yeah. I mean, we've been celebrating because our openers batted through an entire over at the start of a test match for the first time this series. So.
Andy Zaltzman, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy, try and enjoy today. While Stokes is at the crease, there is a hope, right?
The glimmer of hope is there, Ben. We'll cling to that.
And enjoy those 38-degree days that you're having.
Will do.
And thank you very much to Andy Zaltzman for joining me just at the last minute. That was all organised slightly at the last minute, and Andy was good enough to jump on that call just before he headed to a incredibly hot day in Adelaide. Yeah, that's it. That's the show, and that is the end of the first run of 12 episodes of the Cricketers Network. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much for subscribing, downloading. What's the other thing? Liking our posts on social media. Please continue to do that if you haven't already, so we can continue to bring you these interviews from some of the top players and pundits available. Not only available, but just in the world. How good's that? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, enjoy your holidays, and we will be back in the new year. The Big Bash will be continuing to be going. The Super Smash will have started on Boxing Day, and when we're back, we'll probably be halfway through the 5th and final Ashes test, so there'll be plenty to talk about, plenty to dissect. Thanks very much for listening, watching, and see you later.